to the Cajun dance and the Zydeco. Filet gumbo and a crawfish pie. Filet gumbo and a crawfish pie.
Welcome to Literary Gumbo, a continuing look at the world of writers, writing, authors, publishers, musicians as it's turning out to be, or triple threat people. My name is Fred Kelin, I'm the chief stirrer, and my guest today is a triple threat person, Brian Russell. Welcome, Brian.
Hi, Fred. Thanks for having me.
He's really here to talk about a book, but it turns out his background goes all over the place. Lots of name dropping. That's why I want you to go all the way back. Where are you from?
Okay.
Start right from the beginning.
Okay. I was born in Scotland.
Oh, you were born in Scotland.
Born and
Very
raised.
important to the book we're talking about today.
That's what the book's about.
Yeah.
My father was a Presbyterian minister. I was raised in a very strict environment. The only outlet I had was books. I had no movies, no television, no radio, no cards, no dating. I wasn't allowed to wear lipstick.
Where were you living?
I was born in the ugliest town in Scotland. It's a town called Falkirk. It's halfway between Edinburgh and Glasgow, and it's a coal mining town. I was born in a tenement.
Oh, boy.
We call it county housing in Scotland. And I was born at the end of the war to very little in this terrible town. And for some reason, I had aspirations. I just saw beyond that.
Well, but so how did the family stay there? They come to America? Or you come, just you alone? Or they came, the whole family came?
They came. I was about 11 and a half, almost 12. And my dad left Edinburgh, where he was a minister, and moved to the Maritimes, New Brunswick, Canada.
Okay.
Talk about culture shock, right? From the sophistication of Edinburgh to a little from that to a lumberjack town on the Miramichi River, which was very French Canadian, very small clapboard town. And so I arrived there, and that's
At the age of 11.
at 11. Yeah.
And the family still together? Was it just, or you have siblings?
I have one sister. So the four of us, we made it. Dad took the cheapest possible way to get to North America because he had no money. So we crossed the North Atlantic in a boat the size of this table in November.
I was going to kid and say a raft, but you
Somehow.
couldn't possibly. Come on.
It was a 5,000-ton ship, and we got caught in the icebergs. It's a little ship.
Really?
And part of his deal was he got to preach the sermon on Sunday morning, which he enjoyed doing anyway.
Oh, so, and that was a shorter way from there, I guess, to Newfoundland or to that whole area.
I don't think we took the shortest way.
How long did it take you?
8 days.
That even seems small, but okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
8 days.
Yeah, okay. Now here we are.
Here we are.
In 11 years old. You're going to school.
Going to school, but music became a part of my life because I had to be the entertainment for the congregation. My father preached the sermons and collected the dough. I was the warm-up act for him.
Okay, so you were singing?
Singing.
You were singing, so you were a performer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Singing, I assume, church music most of all. But
Some of it
you're not
was.
ready. You're not ready for Elton John yet.
Not quite. It's a little ways down the road,
Okay.
okay? But not far.
All right.
But my dad liked to put me into singing competitions as well. So I'd get into a little light opera as well when I was a kid. And I won enough competitions to make him proud of me for one reason or another. And that led to, he hated the fact that I ever got into show business, but he's the one that introduced me to it. Ironically.
So you call it show, okay, so you're really into showbiz. I mean, Broadway, you never got that far. But okay, let's just take it, go from there. Okay, so now you're graduating school, high school, you're going to college?
Yeah.
Where are you going to go to college?
I went two places.
Canada?
I went to University of Waterloo, Waterloo Lutheran University, which is outside Toronto.
Yeah.
But I studied music at the University of Toronto.
Okay.
I got a scholarship to study opera when I was a teenager.
Really?
So I became an opera singer.
Really? Wow. And where was, this is strictly in Canada?
Yeah. I did some light opera, Pirates of Penzance, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I had a great teacher, Ernesto Vinci,
Isn't that
and I was a
interesting?
basso when I was 17 years old.
Really?
Yeah.
And isn't that interesting? Because the teachers right at that point in your life, in people's lives, become very, very important. At least the people I've talked to
He
primarily.
was huge in my life. Yeah.
But singing opera, I mean, if you followed that course, I mean, it would have been totally different, right, than your life? Because you obviously didn't stay with opera.
I wonder, though, really, Fred, if do we make the choices or do we take the door that opens? For me,
Yeah,
I was
guess.
making a living.
I guess.
I'd sing opera, or I'd go do a commercial, or I'd write jingles. I'd sing jingles in Canada. I did some announcing. I did anything to survive and stay in this industry, which beckoned me.
Still up in Canada, though.
Yeah, still in Canada.
Yeah, you've got the voice. I don't know if your voice has changed, but you certainly have the deep, impressive voice that I can see doing commercials and stuff like that.
I was blessed with that. You know, that's just a gift, and I used it. It helped pay the rent for a long time. You know.
But then you had to get out. I mean, how did you get to the States?
I worked for a couple of guys in Toronto called Chris Beard and Alan Bly. They produced the Andy Williams Show. They produced Sonny and Cher. They produced the Glenn Campbell Show. They were prolific producers.
Yes.
I worked for them in Canada.
I'm trying to think of what's the period. We're talking about the
70s.
70s?
You're right on. Early 70s.
Yeah.
I'd worked with them. I did the Ray Stevens Show with Mama Cass and Lulu and Steve Martin, and worked for them there as a singer. Came to California, just sold my house, got in my car, drove to California. I had my own TV show in Toronto, so I was doing okay, right?
So, but as a performer, you're not not creative in the sense of writing music. You're now performing. You're performing primarily.
Mostly. I wrote a couple of records. I was in a group called Dr. Music. We had some hit records.
Oh yeah.
I wrote a couple of these.
What kind of style were you? What kind of style were you? Were you like
jazz, R&B?
Jazz, R&B.
Yeah, jazz, R&B.
I would love to see that, because jazz has always been my absolutely. I mean, from Sarah to
I mean,
Diane Reeves today. I mean, there's so many fabulous. I don't know if you keep up with it, but
I do.
Jazz vocalists today.
I work with great jazz artists, Lionel Hampton.
And
all these people that came to Canada to do shows. And I worked on all these shows. Bobby Darin. I mean,
Bobby Darin.
People like that.
Okay, keep on going. Keep on going.
So, I ran out of things to do in Canada.
Ran out of things.
So I said, let's go try L.A. I had come to L.A. to do a television special called Little Abner, and I liked the whole flavor of it.
Not the show.
It was
musical show.
It was a special. They did Chris Beard, the producer of Sonny and Cher, did a special called Little Abner. I was hired to come down and sing on the show.
Because there was a Broadway musical called Little Abner. Okay.
And we did it was an adaptation of that. Okay. I liked the whole flavor of Los Angeles. I thought, this is where I need to be. I went home, sold my house, packed my car, drove down here and started.
You're how old now?
Over.
26.
Oh, yeah. Very good. Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Around that.
Yeah. And wouldn't you know it, I didn't call Chris because I'm a real idiotic, Scottish, proud person. I didn't call anybody. But I'm at the grocery store in the checkout line, and the guy beside me says, Brian, what are you doing here? It's Chris Beard, who's the producer of Sonny and Cher. I said, I'm living here now. He said, are you working? I said, no, I'm not. He said, you are now.
Oh, wow.
And the next week I started on the Sonny and Cher show.
Oh, that's,
Started as a singer. I eventually got to be on the show because she needed somebody tall to dance with. Didn't matter if he could dance, just as long as he had some height. So I got to do some of that and got my feet wet doing series television.
And that led to what?
That led to writing music, and I became a session singer in LA. I was doing everybody's album as a bass singer.
Okay.
The gift of being a bass singer that could read music let me do all sorts of music.
Well, no, but does that work in rock and roll? Does that work? It doesn't. Does it work in those kinds of music?
Yeah.
Really?
I didn't tell them I was an opera singer. I pretended I was a rock and roller.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
It's the same notes, you know. Anything you do, do 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 do, you work.
Yeah.
So I worked, and I do Bette Midler's album, and just did all these albums. And
so I may have your voice on some of the things that I've done that I have at home.
You probably
Let's see
do.
who else? Bette Midler, I don't think.
I worked in a group called The Band. You know the guys called The Band.
Vaguely.
I worked with them and Ronnie Hawkins, and that led to
drum roll. We should have these drum rolls.
As a session singer, I was hired to do the Neil Sedaka's Return to the Limelight.
Okay.
And I was on that album.
Yeah.
So I did a live performance with him, and he had been signed by Elton John for his comeback. I was on stage with my wife at the time, Brenda Russell. We were a duo. We were singing background, and Elton's people saw us that night and signed us that night.
Wow. So that you tour with, this
Yes.
is Elton is just coming up to his,
Yeah.
to his
I toured with Sedaka first, was signed by Elton, and part of the deal being signed to him was to go on the road and do concert work in Europe, which was great.
oh God, yes.
Went to Amsterdam to rehearse for a couple of weeks, and then did Wembley Stadium with 105,000 people and the Beach Boys as our warm-up act.
Oh, wow.
I'd come a long way from this mining town in Scotland by then.
Absolutely,
You know?
and Wembley, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I used to spend some time out there.
So you know.
Yes, oh, geez.
Yeah.
So because I don't want to get here yet, but it
Yeah, okay.
seems to me you can
Okay.
go any place. I mean, okay.
I have really been blessed. Sincerely, I have.
But
because
it's still little creative. It's
Yeah.
mostly performing.
Mostly, no, because there was a lot of writing by that time.
Oh, there is.
We were writing, Brenda and I, who was my ex-wife, we were writing and having hit records with people like Shaka Khan and her group Rufus, and David Foster, who's a huge composer nowadays.
Yes, who's done, yes.
I wrote music for David. And Brenda and I actually wrote, there was a wonderful actress who was starring in a series called Charlie's Angels, who was,
Yes.
you know where I'm going with this?
Yes, I do know, but go on, there.
So she was cutting an album, and we were friends, and she'd bought my albums, and she thought I was kind of a big deal at the time, and Brenda and I wrote a song for her, which she recorded, and it became a top 40 hit, and it was called Think It Over.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
So I became a background singer for Cheryl Ladd. There's going to be a joke in there somewhere, right?
I'm going to keep quiet. I'm just going to...
So we'd do stuff like The Carson Show or Merv Griffin or Dinah Shore,
Oh.
and I would be her background singer. Well, my marriage went asunder, Cheryl's marriage went asunder. We didn't see each other for a long time. We got back together as friends, but we looked at each other differently then because we were both unattached. Because neither of us was a player, but we were unattached. And I got involved with her musically again, and within a very short time, we discovered that we were in love, and that led to being married a year and a half after that. And that led into more producing and television.
But now,
and that
exactly,
kind of stuff.
now producing shows.
Yeah. Musical specials, first of all. It was
Okay.
good for me because Cheryl was doing specials. So I came on as a producer in that context because
And
music
still
was
back
my
up,
background.
and still back up.
I've remained that, Fred, very much so.
You've remained back up for years.
I have.
That's one of your abilities.
I'm good as Cheryl's backup. Let me say that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I'm her wingman.
Okay.
Yeah. But that led me into producing television, producing films. Again, ironically, I was the last Hollywood producer to hire Grace Kelly. I was the last guy to ever work with her.
Wait. Repeat that. You were the last producer.
Producer to hire Grace Kelly.
But she was making movies then.
I hired her as a producer. She came on board a project. Cheryl and I were in Monaco. We had been invited for a film festival. We're in Monaco.
She's now married to...
She's married to
Princess
Renier.
Renier.
This is not that long ago. This is just before she died.
Okay.
I see Cheryl and Grace in the reception line, and I go, ding.
She
What a
could play
great
her?
story. Cheryl could play her.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say.
So I suggested it to Cheryl, and Cheryl said, oh, I don't know, really? I said, yeah, sure. I went to talk to ABC Television, I swear to God. I walked in the room, and they said, what are you here to talk about? I said, Cheryl Ladd, Grace Kelly. Before I sat down, they said, yes. I started my pitch, and they said, wait a second, can you take yes for an answer? It was the easiest sell ever. Really? So they said yes to the Grace Kelly thing. This is where it gets interesting. We proceeded. She didn't want to do it. She didn't want her story told. We contacted her.
She's done nothing while she's been married to him, right? The whole
So
Hollywood's gone.
we said, listen, somebody's going to tell your story anyway.
Absolutely.
We will do it with respect and we'll do it fondly. She said, come to Monaco. So I flew to Monaco and I met with her in the palace. And I sat with her with the script. And she starts reading the script and she started acting it. So she started to like it, you know. So she came on board with us and helped to make the movie, to get it started. Then when we're about to start filming, she drives off the cliff.
No, I was waiting for that. I was hoping it wasn't going to happen.
She drives off the cliff.
Jeez.
The network, of course, liked the idea even better because it was all the news. And Cheryl said, I am not doing this. It's just too ghoulish.
Somebody's done it recently, haven't they?
Yes.
Has it aired yet?
Nicole Kidman has
I was going
recorded,
to say,
has filmed it.
That's right.
Hasn't
That's
come out
coming
yet.
out. That's right. That hasn't
Doesn't come out. Anyway, to make a long story short, we gave them a period of mourning. Renier contacted us. My buddy Renier, that is nonsense. His people contacted my people,
yeah.
and they said, we appreciate your respect, and we'd like you to go ahead, and we'll help in any way we can. So we went and filmed the movie in the south of France.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So now, okay. Now,
So that's my early life.
So now you're a Hollywood producer.
Yeah.
Maybe not in Hollywood, but you're a producer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then I went and ran a film company, and I produced some feature films and some television.
In this world, because we're talking about the 2000, what are we into, 2000?
No, 1989, 1987, 89, 90, right in that period of time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But producing movies in Hollywood back in that period, we still did we have studios, or were the studios gone by that
We
time?
did have studios. I was the president of an independent production company called Indian Neck. And we made a few films. We never went through the roof, but we did movies like Spellbinder and Fulfillment of Mary Gray. We did okay. It never went really, really huge.
And the amounts were not astronomical like they are today. 40 million.
Not for me.
Yeah.
No, it's a different time now.
Yeah,
Fred. It's
yeah.
crazy, the numbers now.
Absolutely, and with all the tentpole movies and all but you still think the independent movies hold a future, I think, for Hollywood or for the motion picture world.
It's what I like to watch.
Yeah.
I don't know about
well,
you.
Well, I mean, even at the nine chosen for the Academy Award, a number of them seem to qualify.
You're exactly right. As opposed to the big blockbusters, I think they're more thoughtful. And Cheryl and I find that we love to watch people movies, relationship movies. I want to know about people.
Right.
Car crashes. I've seen enough of that. Give me some people stuff. I like that.
Now we have to come to the reason for your visit here. Is or is there something that intervened between producing movies and this?
Okay, quickly.
Yes.
Then I went ahead and wrote a bunch of more music. Cheryl and I moved out of Beverly Hills, yanked our kids who were becoming little brats in Beverly Hills up to the Santa Ynez Valley and stuck them in the local high school. Best thing we ever did for them.
Oh, gee.
They were calling their friends saying it was like...
You're trapped.
It was like happy days. They loved it. There were boys and football and all that kind of stuff. So it was good for them.
So they've grown up.
They grew up there. It was good. I continued to write music. I went on from there. Cheryl and I wrote a children's book together. I got into doing some design stuff, just dabbling in my muses. Designed a house, which I very much like.
Designed a house?
Yeah.
With no professional experience.
Well,
but just
I'd done all that stuff making movies. I mean, it's very much the same thing, isn't it, when you think of it? If you have a good plot and good people to work with, and you have a good good house plan, and good builders, you can stand back and just take accolades, right?
I guess I've never been in the position. Good for you.
It turned out okay. The house remained standing. It remained standing.
It's still there.
I love the house. And
is this the house you live in?
We sold it this year.
Okay.
This year, and we moved part-time to Texas. We go back and forth now.
Why Texas?
We have family, grandchildren. My wife's family is pretty well all there.
From Texas, okay.
So we go back and forth. We kept a house up in the valley, but we're building a house as we speak. Right now, we're building a house in Texas.
My friend Jimmy Garner built a house out
Jimmy's
there.
a friend of yours?
Yes.
He's a friend of mine too.
And I saw the house before. They never moved in.
The one up there?
Yes.
I know it well.
They never. He gave me the tour, and I photographed it because his wife didn't want to see it. She never wanted to go up there.
I know.
It was a fabulous house.
Very interesting house. Very
Yes.
different. It was like an African fort kind of thing, wasn't
Yes,
it? With the little
and
tower
then
rooms.
Yes, and then you had there were no outlets for electricity.
Oh, no, you didn't tell me that.
It really was terrible. Yes, it was awful. I mean, it was impractical in some ways.
But it was beautiful.
Yes, it was beautiful. Then he finally got it off. Finally sold it. Yeah, for a lot less, I guess, than he wanted.
But we partied there since. The house is doing fine.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. Because at one point he used to give us wine at Christmas because the winery. He got some sort of deal with the winery right next door.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, come on. We got to get to your book.
Okay.
So you're, in spite of all this, you're now moving. You're now creating your own house, and you're bored. You suddenly have time, and you're starting to think it's time to write.
That's exactly
fiction.
Right. That's exactly right. I said one thing I haven't tried.
Oh, it's because the whole Scotland. Now I begin to see the thing that propelled you to do this because of your background.
And Cheryl and I spend a lot of time in Scotland. We're avid golfers. Cheryl's a great golfer. And we go to Scotland every summer. Okay. And it's the kind of place where you just pick a byway, a road, and you just drive down it and see what happens.
Now let's talk
That's
the story, but no, let's talk because it's very important. Well, now that you mentioned it, the hero and heroine are former film producer and actress wife.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
So you really have, okay, then take it from there. I mean, number one, sort of do a little sell, and I'm sure you can sell, on how you would, to the audience here who's listening to you and watching you. Why should, tell us about the story, as much of the story as, just to provoke them.
All right. It's a little different. It's a very heartfelt book, and it took me many years to write this book. This book is 4 years to write.
Really?
But my background is Scotland, and I decided to write a book, and as opposed to how many other people do it, Fred, I decided to sit down and just see what happened. I didn't plot it all out. I created a couple of characters and let them come to life and see what happened in their lives. This is what happened after 4 years of writing it. And so the Hollywood couple goes to Scotland. They rent a magical house on a magical loch.
Sort of a quirky small town area in Scotland.
Right. Kind of hidden away place.
And contemporary? I'm
yes,
trying to think
it's actually the 90s.
Yeah, I was sort of.
Because I didn't want cell phones.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't want it to be tech.
That's interesting, yeah.
So I just pre-tech, okay?
Yeah.
But they're happy to go there because the wife gets away from Hollywood and the paparazzi. He is going to write his novel, his long-awaited novel.
Right.
He's a B director. He never amounted to the big deal, but he's going to write the book he's waited and waited. They move into this gorgeous house, and he sits down to write, and their lives start changing.
And he's driven by...
Somebody's writing through him.
Yes.
He didn't know he was going to write a historical novel. He writes history, and the history...
What's that period, the Campbell's,
1500s.
1500s, so it goes all the way back.
Goes all the way back. This is a weird story, but since you and I are friends, I'm going to tell you this story.
Thank you.
If I didn't have a witness, I couldn't tell this story. The modern day part of this book, I wrote it and rewrote it 100 times.
Any help from anybody besides your wife?
Just editors. My wife was the primary editor, and she's so good at it because she sees movies.
Right.
I write pictures. I write movies. You know what I'm saying? I make movies.
Yeah.
It's very
visual.
Very visual. That's the word. Anyway, the historical part of this, I'm sitting writing, and I start writing the historical part, and it's coming to me, it's just flowing through me like the guy in the book. It's the same thing exactly. I write about 100 pages, I've created a location, I've chosen Loch Awe, which I'd heard about, but I made up the Campbell clan was located there. I made up the town of Kilbride, the town of Kilmartin, I just made them up. That fall, I put the book down, and we go to Scotland to play in a golf tournament. We're driving through a part of Scotland I had never been to. We turn a corner, and it says Loch Awe. Cheryl goes,
really?
Brian, this is amazing. We drove around a corner, Kilbride. She said, you're kidding.
Yes.
We drove around the next corner, Kilmartin. She said, this is crazy. We stopped at the local tourist place, and an old lady says to us, well, you know where you are. You're on the shores of Loch Awe. I said, I know that. She said, this is the seat of the Campbell clan.
Oh, my God.
She said, their castle is right down the loch. I had written and described the castle in complete detail. It's exactly the castle that's sitting there. Sitting over the loch, where people could fall from towers onto the rocks. It's all there, and the Campbells. And that story flowed through me so intensely that people say, is that really a historical thing that really happened?
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Well, what happened to the guy in the book happened to me.
John, you mean that happened to John?
What happened to John in the book happened to me while I was writing this, which is what happened to him while he was writing within this context.
But there's all sorts of other plot lines emanating. Tell about. I mean, the wife is suddenly attracted to this very charming.
Well, John, the book becomes his mistress. I say that because it happened to me. This is the only mistress Cheryl has ever allowed me to have. Because when you write a book, it's every day, all day. You can't just dally and dabble.
And but we also have to. We also get a singer in there. Yeah, that's right. We get Mara.
Oh, there's the music.
Because you got to get music in there too.
Yeah. So my whole life is actually it's right here in this book.
And it becomes a thriller. Wait, now, but
Yeah.
do a little more sell here.
Well, what we don't know is that this house has been waiting for them. The house that they rent has been waiting for them. 20 years before, a horrible murder happened in that house. And the guy who was responsible is trying to recreate that, and he only allowed them to rent the house. Of all the people that applied, he chose them. So they become pawns in a plot, and he's the puppet master arranging their lives for them. And their lives, their marriage is threatened. Because he's not there, right. She finds some other interest.
And he with the singer.
He gets involved with the singer, just like the ancient book. So they begin to parallel each other, and eventually they merge.
Yes, a very exciting climax. It really is.
Yeah.
But I can't believe that you in a sense, that it all was really there, and you just had to discover it. It's hard to. Because could you write another book? The point is
no, of course not.
Oh, come on!
I'm done.
I don't think so.
I'm halfway through the sequel.
You are halfway through the sequel. Did everybody hear that?
Yeah. These characters
again. John and Valerie.
They didn't. Valerie made it. John didn't. But John's family did. But the ancient part continues. Continues to be written.
Wait, now, with what's going on in Scotland now, trying to decide whether they're going to go,
there's a lot now.
Hook themselves. Is that? I mean, certainly Scotland stays more in the contemporary news.
More world. Contemporary. We have all of that stuff with Sean Connery becoming king. Remember?
Oh yeah.
We got to go there. Yeah. Here's a lovely piece. You as a historian and as a publisher, you know about the Stone of Destiny.
Yeah.
And my middle name is Scone, actually, and the Stone of Scone is the stone that the Scottish kings were crowned on. It was stolen. It's the greatest theft from Scotland. The Stone of Destiny was stolen and put underneath the coronation throne in Westminster Abbey.
Jeez.
In 2000 it was returned. So there's a story in there, and we'll dabble in that a wee bit with the modern day stuff.
Okay.
And John's family returns to Scotland.
Do we have a title? I'm seeing, because we're almost out of time.
Quiver.
Good title, and I see it as meaning several things.
Yeah.
Very good. But you got to promote this one now, right?
Well, you know what? It's so tough to promote. This is why, thank you for doing it. This book will take you on a ride. I hear people say when they get towards the end, they slow down. They don't want it to finish. These people that I wrote about became my friends. That's why it continues. They'll become your friends.